kindly take it away, and then we'll do the panel afterwards.
Okay, can you see my screen, Simone?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I will start by actually informing people what ITU is. That's the organization where I work, and the program that we have that mandates us to work in this space. I'll also be presenting on a few things that have been talked about in various forums similar to this one, so I'll try not to repeat too much what I'm
You can click
saying.
on the hide on that little thingy.
Yes, you can see that as well. Okay. Yeah. Okay, perfect. So just quickly, actually, we have a program in ITU called Creating a Circular Economy for Electronics and also Greening Digital Transformation. The first part is what I will focus on in this presentation. Just to inform people what ITU is, it's the United Nations Specialized Agency for ICTs. We have three sectors: radio, telecom, standardization, and development. And I'm sitting in the development sector. So I know there is quite a lot of text on the screen, and some of it might be quite small for people to read. But just to summarize, so within that development bureau in ITU, we have a thematic area focusing on environment, and within that we have this program, Creating a Circular Economy for Electronics and Greening Digital Transformation. So there are three components to that program. One is on e-waste data, one is on e-waste policy and regulation, and the other is a brand new component actually, which is entirely on greening digital transformation. So on the e-waste side, which I'll focus on today, you see some percentages on the left-hand side. Those are the high-level targets set by the member states of ITU. They are until 2020. They are, they will be revised. So the target 30% that you see there is to increase the global e-waste recycling rate to 30% by 2023. As I said, it's maybe slightly ambitious and something that's going to be revised. The current recycling rate globally is about just under 20%, according to the Global E-Waste Monitor. And the other target is to have the number of countries covered by a national e-waste legislation, policy, or regulation to 50% of countries globally by 2023. So on that one, it's probably important to say that there are about 40% at the moment of countries that have some kind. Most of these instruments are not enforceable or legally binding. They're not implemented, and let's say many of them are kind of struggling to find a way to bring stakeholders together to actually move to implementation. So on the e-waste data side, we're supporting countries to collect data and statistics on e-waste. We also publish the Global E-Waste Monitor, and we do all of this in collaboration with the United Nations Institute for Training and Research. And then on the e-waste policy side, which I'll focus in a bit more detail today on the in African countries, we have a strong collaboration with organizations such as the UN Environment Programme, and we also collaborate with GIZ in some places as well in this area, and we support countries policy or strategy or regulation in this space. And I think some of the presenters here and also the participants that I've seen in the audience, we've worked with many of you in some of these areas before. So really what started the work in the region that we're talking about today for ITU was this toolkit, this publication called Policy Practices for E-Waste Management, Tools for Fair and Economically Viable EPR. So, in here you have a lot of information towards the end about the status of a select number of countries, and those select number of countries are those that we identified as having some kind of legislation or regulation in place, and most of those refer to EPR in the articles of those of those regulations. This toolkit also outlines like a step-by-step approach that we suggest to develop policy or regulation around principle of EPR and also e-waste management. But I think it's also a useful toolkit for industry. And I know that some of the colleagues here today, we also had consultations with you in preparation for this toolkit. It was released in 2021. So a lot of the work that we've been doing, I mentioned, has kind of followed on from that. So I've put a lot of screenshots here on the slide. I know the text is quite small, but I can briefly describe what I'm trying to present here. So just to give you a picture, over the last 2 to 3 years, ITU has been providing assistance in some way or other to countries like Botswana, Rwanda, Namibia, Burundi, Niger, the Gambia, so Malawi, if I didn't mention. So, we have quite an extensive reach here, and a lot of these countries had no framework in place in terms of policy or strategy to think about a vision or and how they would govern e-waste management. So we've tried to bring stakeholders together here. We've done a lot of this work with the UN Environment Programme, which has allowed, let's say, a dual approach where we've brought together the Ministry of ICT and the ICT regulator with the Ministry of Environment and the environmental management authorities of these countries, along with all of the other relevant stakeholders through consultation. And this also has included consultation with industry, let's say those where there are recyclers or collectors, whether it be specifically in e-waste or in general waste, and also with distributors, importers, and weavers, etc. We've also been supporting in a bit more detail our colleagues in Rwanda. I think I saw a couple of those colleagues in the audience today. We've been looking, because Rwanda already has a regulation on e-waste, and Article 24 of that regulation makes provisions for EPR. So we've been supporting the government, various government agencies in 3 areas. One, in the legal regime, to look at how we could potentially revise that or to potentially improve it, and then also in the administrative arrangements. And you can see a couple of tables here in and amongst these screenshots. These are examples of how the administrative arrangements for EPR. And what I mean by that is registration procedures, for example, for the producers, and the fee payment for the EPR fee, and also generally the roles and responsibilities of the actors in the system. So we've been mapping these out, trying not to duplicate what is already in place, such as things like business operator licensing or product registration, so that we can embed potentially EPR within that. The third area in Rwanda was also on the financing side, just trying to understand how much e-waste management costs in the country and what might be an EPR fee in the future potentially. So that's me transitioning from legislation and policy, just to go back to the first component of our program, which was data. And I just want to flag this also very close to home for the likes of the WE Centre, for example, in Kenya. So we've been working with the East African Communications Organization, EACO, and also the UN Institute for Training and Research, and we've been piloting business and household surveys in Kenya and in Burundi, but also working with the other 4 countries within East Africa to also provide them with assistance in general e-waste statistics collection. So the aim of the overall project, which is coming to a close soon, and we will be publishing the findings from the surveys, the aim is basically to understand e-waste generation and disposal in the region, but it's also very much aligned to the strategic actions of the regional e-waste management strategy of EACO for the 6 countries. And also, we hope in the future it will support the Secretariat of EACO to somehow start sustaining a central database on e-waste, in particular in areas such as e-waste generation figures. So I think this is my last slide. I just wanted to flag that although we work in data and policy on e-waste, when we do work in these areas, we also, if it's technical assistance or working directly with governments, we also try to supplement that with other activities. And here's a nice example from Rwanda, where earlier this year there was an awareness and communication campaign in Musanze district and in Kigali. We collaborated with RURA, EnviroServe, and Ministry of Environment, and even some of the mobile network operators such as MTN Rwanda, who provided prizes along with EnviroServe, and we held an awareness campaign with the competition in that you can see on the screen there the drop off and win campaign. This is in Kinyarwanda though, so for those that understand that, you can have a read. So I think, I'll stop there, Simone, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.